Been a long week. Anybody else agree? I went all the way to West Virginia and back this week. So I had a weenie roast. Have you ever been to a weenie roast? Yeah, that was good stuff. West Virginia hot dogs, a few billion calories. It was good stuff. We had a lot of fun, good times. Flew back last night. And is it just me or are all flights bumpy now? Is that a thing? I seem to remember back in the day it was unusual to be super bumpy all the time. And now it seems like every single flight I go on is super bumpy. But it is what it is. We made it, and we're glad to be here. And so last week we were talking about this idea of lightening each other's burdens. You know, like when we enter into a space, being more like Jesus than we saw with the Pharisees, where the contrast was Jesus, his yoke being easy and his burden being light. And the Pharisees later in Matthew chapter number 23 says, you guys don't do what they say, not what they do. Because what they do is they tie up heavy burdens and put them on people's backs. You know, and so the idea was, how do we start this conversation? How do we have this general attitude of lightening each other's burdens? How can we be so that when people come into contact with us and then they leave, their burden is just a little bit lighter? We can't fix anybody. That's Jesus said that he came to reconcile all things. He's fixing it. That's him. He's doing that at the pace he wants to do it, and he's going to fix it perfectly. But in the meantime, what can we do? We can make each other's day just that much easier, that much better, that much more positive, right? And so, as a follow-up to that, I was thinking about this. What's with the attitude? And anybody ever been hit with that question in your house? What's with the attitude? Nobody? Huh? Not admitting it? Anybody, any spouse here would say, I've said it to my spouse? Anybody? There we go. Don, you got nailed right there. She, that was a quick hand too, brother. But yeah, I mean, what's with the attitude? And I started thinking about this idea of negativity. Negativity. Like, if you're constantly in an environment that's negative, your burden is heavy. Your burden is heavy. If you're constantly flooded with negative thoughts on your own, your burden is heavy. What is negativity? The definition that I found that I liked was a state of mind or attitude characterized by pessimism, skepticism, and a tendency to focus on the bad qualities of a situation. Is anybody here right now starting to squirm just a little bit? Like, that's hitting a little close to home. Go ahead and stand up. No, I'm kidding. I think the truth is, if we're being honest about it, all of us are going to have moments like this. And I'm not talking about like constructive criticism or something that seems negative in a moment or in a certain circumstance so that it can equal something positive later. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just this sometimes when we need correction or we need to go through something that feels negative but equals a positive outcome. I'm talking about this general malaise, this general attitude that can permeate our whole lives, our whole households, our whole workplaces of negativity. Just this constant state of mind or attitude characterized by pessimism, skepticism, and a tendency to focus on bad qualities of a situation. The power of negativity. Negativity is a killer. Negativity is a killer. People that are constantly around negative circumstances are not healthy people. It's not how we're meant to be. Here's a couple of things that I've gleaned from looking through the interwebs. The power of negativity, physical health consequences. Actual physical health consequences. It can cause immune suppression. It can cause your body not to be able to function and get rid of the things that it needs to get rid of in an efficient manner. It can actually cause that to happen, being around negative situations all the time. Cardiovascular risks. I grew up in West Virginia. I don't need any more additional cardiovascular risks, right? I need an uber positive vibe in my life, you know? And but cardiovascular risk, because of all the stress. And have you ever noticed that when you're stressed and when you're around something negative and when you're in a situation that's tense, you're tense. You're flexed, your fists are clenched, your jaw is tight. Why? Because your body's reacting to the situation, and it's not healthy. It can cause headache, fatigue, digestive problems, etc., etc. Those are some of the physical consequences of negativity. The mental health impact. It can cause compromised reasoning. It can cause you not to be able to think properly and make good decisions because of the constant stress. And you guys know what I'm talking about. If you've been in a situation, whether it's at home, whether it was growing up, whether it's at work or with a friend set, or maybe at church, probably not here, but maybe, and you're there and you feel like you're constantly on what they say is on eggshells. Because you're not wanting to upset the situation. You're not wanting to get the wrath of that negativity on you. And you're constantly having to live in kind of that fight or flight mode. It can cause you to make decisions that you wouldn't normally make and compromise your reasoning because you're not thinking as far as what is best. You're thinking about how to survive that particular moment in time. Compromised reasoning. Brain structure changes. Your brain will actually develop differently if you're constantly surrounded by negativity. Your brain, parts of your brain that have to do with survival will increase, and other parts will suffer as a result because of constant negativity. It escalates clinical depression and anxiety disorders. So it can take things that may already exist and exacerbate them or accelerate them, being constantly around negativity. Now, if you're a parent, it can be fairly difficult to maintain an air of constant positivity, for sure. For sure, yeah. Right. Tiffany, happy again. I'm making Tiffany feel guilty. Perfect. This is the best sermon ever then. I can't wait. I'm going to really ramp this up in a minute, so hang on tight. But that's the mental health side of it. And then you also have personal and professional impact. It can cause relationship strain. You know what it's like if you're in a situation. Joy and I have been married almost 29 years. Almost 29 years, and there's a lot of ups and downs in 29 years. There's a lot of ups and downs, and there can be prolonged periods of negativity that if something, and it doesn't have to be caused by us being negative to each other. It can be circumstances in life that just are negative, and they start to creep in, and they start to overwhelm, and it can cause our relationship to be strained because of something that we had nothing to do with. Because if we're constantly around this kind of negativity, it hurts everything. It can also cause impaired decision making, which we kind of already covered before. But there's a lot of negativity to negativity, right? And it's not how we're designed to constantly be. And I think that we can take some ownership of this. I can take some ownership of this. That if we're not careful, we can set the tone of whether this is something that is in our home or isn't. Whether this is something that's characterized, maybe when other people come in from the outside, they come to your home and they think everything is hunky-dory. But the truth is, when they head out and it's just you and yours because of your attitude, I'm going to blame just us as far as us as individuals. I don't want to say, no, it's because of my spouse. It's not because of me. I'll let you guys work through that part. But because of, if we can take ownership of this, are we, I guess the better way to do it, are we creating an environment that causes people in our lives to be surrounded by negativity, negative thoughts, negative outcomes, negative attitudes? And so the question then becomes, are you a negative person, Tiffany? Are you a negative person? Are you a negative person? Could you ask yourself that? Am I a negative person? And I did not like this at all. I got to be honest. I didn't like this because, man, I used to think I was a healthy skeptic. I'm just a negative person. If I'm not careful, if I default. When I'm driving, it's amazing. Every single person on the road is an idiot. Except me. It's amazing how I'm just constantly surrounded by that, you know? And it's like, just the attitude of just, if I'm not careful, my default can easily be this fight or flight. When something happens, I'm all tensed up and I just fly off the handle if I'm not careful. I need to take responsibility for that. Am I causing others in my life to feel like they want to avoid me? They just want to get away from me? They don't know how to order their day until they know how I'm doing? Any of that? Are you a negative person? So we have the 5 C's of negativity. The 5 C's of negativity. Now, I was going to give credit for this, but it's kind of everywhere. So 5 C's of negativity. See if this describes you at all. We're going to have an altar call after this. Mainly for Tiffany, but if anybody else wants to join her up here. So just think about it. Complaining. Focusing excessively on problems rather than seeking solutions. So, case in point, we're flying to West Virginia, and it's just been the craziest couple of weeks, month. It's been the craziest 6 months, maybe a year. So, it's been a while since we've been normal. But we were flying to West Virginia, and there's this great itinerary to get us to Columbus. We have to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is definitely a negative. But had to fly at 5 o'clock in the morning. Plane leaves at 5. Get to Denver, 1 hour layover in Denver. Okay? Then straight to Columbus. Beauty. We're at Columbus by 2:30 Eastern time. It's like 6 hours of travel. It's amazing. And so we had that, and it all works great until it doesn't. So we get on the plane, 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:35 in the morning, whatever it is. We get on the plane, we're sitting there, and everything's hunky-dory. The flight attendants are doing their thing. Everybody's kind of got our luggage all in. Everybody gets sit down, and the pilot comes on, and he's like, got a bit of a maintenance issue up here today, and, the mechanics will be here in about 75 minutes, and so just sit tight. We'll get you there to Denver as soon as we can, try to make up some time in the air. And I'm like, we can't make up that kind of time in the air. We can't time travel. I'm pretty sure these planes go fast, but they don't do that. And so we're getting there, and I start looking and doing the math, and it's like we're not catching this flight, and it's a short trip. And so with all of my heart, I'm like, that's okay. It's fine. If we miss it, we miss it. I was saying that, right? So, by the way, if you're visiting, this is my wife. So I'm like, we got this. No, it's cool. It'll work out. it's fine. We'll just figure something out. It'll complicate things a little bit. And then the closer it got, it's like, dude, if we jump off this plane right when it lands and we grab our luggage and we literally push every other person out of the way, we can make it. And I start looking, and we're in Denver. If you've ever been to Denver, you understand. We're in A59, and we have to get to B44. And we've got like 8 minutes to do it. So, and I look, and the other plane's on time. And so, in my app, you know how your apps usually says, hey, I know you're getting to Denver. Don't worry. Got plenty of time. My app was like, you need to hurry. Like, you got to sprint. Like, now, It's like, boop, boop, boop. Yeah, you got to go. And so, and by the way, we're in row 37 out of 38. Because, cheap. And so, and we have carry on. It's a scene. So anyway, we get down, and I'm like, run, woman. And as soon as it lands, you know how everybody's all nice and courteous? Like, just run to the front. So, but everybody else had the same idea because everybody else was late too. We got there with like 8 minutes left. I think we made it to the plane 8 minutes later. But all that to say this. It was all hunky-dory in my head. I'm like, it's good. But when the rubber met the road, I was like, we got to go. Our lives depend on it, like if we're not careful, we can focus excessively on the problems rather than seeking solutions. So what if we would have missed our flight? You just have to you got to fix it. There's a solution there. Instead of complaining about what you can't help, there's got to be a solution. You got to find the solution. It's like in relationships, in anything else, when things don't work out, my biggest thing is, if only it would have worked out. But guess what? It didn't. That's gone. That ship sailed. So now what? I'm always impressed when I'm around people that are solution-oriented. Remember my father-in-law, we were going fishing, and we had this big day planned, and we go to pull his boat trailer, and he's got a flat tire, and he doesn't have a spare because he's also cheap. And so it's like, fishing trip's ruined, and I'm mad. And he's like, no, we'll figure it out. And we figured it out. It didn't work great, but we figured it out. We went fishing. He was solution-oriented. I wanted to complain about the problem. He wanted to solve it. Which one am I, and which one are you? That's one of the C's. I don't have that many illustrations for the next one. Criticizing. Tearing down instead of building up. Tearing down instead of building up. It's the easiest thing in the world to be a critic. It's the easiest thing in the world to come into a church and find out what's wrong. There's plenty. There's tons. This is too loud. That's not bright enough. That's covered up. We like this. I don't like that. The carpet's this. The chairs are green. I don't like that. That was my personal one. There's balloons up there. There's this. There's that. It's easy to find something wrong. It's easy. It's easy to be a critic. It's easy to criticize. There are balloons up there, by the way. I have no idea why. So the balcony, they just do weird. There's like a big party up there. I don't know. But it's the easiest thing in the world is to criticize, to tear down. The hard work comes in building up. I've noticed there's a lot more, but there's two types of church people. There's a church people that come and they love each other. You love the family. You love being together. You love each other. And it really doesn't matter what's happening up here because you've been here for 30 years and you've seen it change 15 times. And so you're just in it because you like that. And it doesn't matter. You're building it up. You're a part of it, and it is that. There's another type of church person that comes in and they're like, impress me or else. Impress me or else. And the thing about that is you might impress them for a little bit. You don't impress them for very long. And if they came here unimpressed, they'll also leave unimpressed. Because it's the easiest thing in the world to do, is be a critic. Does that characterize me? Does that characterize you? Tearing down instead of building up. Criticizing. Concern. Excessive worrying about the news, future, or hypothetical situations. This is like, you could just call this Trevor. This could be the 1T of negativity, you know. I have been, in my whole life, I have defaulted to fatalism. Everything is worst case scenario in my head. Everything. And so, is that you? Excessive worrying about the news. Man, the 24-hour news cycle is the dumbest thing ever. There's not that much news. You don't need it. You're addicted to it. Stop it. Take a class. Go take a picture of a butterfly. Do something. But stop watching the news 24/7. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. Excessive worrying about the future. Church, a lot of times, there are churches that's all they talk about is the future and what may or may not happen in the future. The problem with that is we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. The future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is right now. Or hypothetical situations. Anybody ever just build this up? You just make it up. Like, you're like, if this happens, then this is going to happen, and that happens, and that happens. And pretty soon, my house is definitely burning down. You know, it's hypothetical. This concern. So there's complaining, criticizing, concern. The next one is commiserating. Bonding with others over shared negativity. Ooh, I got some amens on that one. You guys want to hang out later and talk about it? Talk about who else is doing this or whatever. But bonding with others over this shared negativity. I've seen so many, not so many. I've heard about so many, but I've seen a few church business meetings go this route. Where you have the one person that's like, I'm not so sure about that. And then the other person's like, I never thought about that in my life until just now, but now I'm super concerned about it too. Well, if they're concerned about it, I should be concerned about it. And all of a sudden, whoosh, it's a fire. Nothing wrong with being concerned, but you know what I mean. Bonding with others over shared negativity. And if your friend set is built around shared negativity, one of these days you're going to be the focus of that negativity. It's not sustainable. So you have complaining, criticizing, concern, commiserating, and the last one is catastrophizing. Had a hard time with that one. Catastrophizing. I think they made that up. It sounds like something I would do. Turning minor setbacks into worst case scenarios. Anybody else like that? You just have that ability? Like, it'd be, you know, anytime a church member emails, I'm like, oh, they're leaving. They're gone. And they're like, no, I just wanted to know what was happening next week, you know, or whatever. It's so easy to just be like, we're done. You know, this is, and the truth is, this kind of just hit me as I'm looking at this. This is kind of how we're getting sold stuff on a broader scale, isn't it? It really is. If you think about it, it's all this is fear-based, and fear sells. People will spend money to alleviate fears. And if we can make people scared and then present to them, we can create a problem and then present to them a fairly moderate to expensive solution, then people will pay money to try to find out what that solution is. You see that in churches they'll create a scenario, or not just churches, it's anything. Create a scenario that is negative and then write a book to counteract that thing that you made up about being bad and then sell the book to fix the problem that you kind of created, right? And so all this it's a killer. What's the Bible say about it? That's more fun. What does the Bible say? Leviticus 19:16. Do not go about spreading slander among your people. Pretty simple. Proverbs 15:1. And by the way, Proverbs, you could just pretty much read Proverbs about this. There's just so many, so I just picked out a few. Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. If you're constantly around this negativity and this harshness, you're going to be full of anger all the time. Proverbs 15:18. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict. I don't believe it. But the one who is patient calms a quarrel. I've seen this so many times. De-escalation. Not just ramping it up to 1,000. You know? My wife actually taught a class in de-escalation at the hospital. And that's what you see this. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict. Are you the type of person that you've lost 10 jobs and at every job, they just didn't like me? The manager was just a jerk. And it's like, what is the common denominator of those 10 jobs that you've lost? Just a thought, right? A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict. Does conflict seem to follow you everywhere you go? Then the question might be, is it me? Is it me? But the one who's patient calms a quarrel. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. You know, that's like my philosophy on child rearing changed so much by rearing children. And I got really good at it after I was done rearing my children. Anybody else? Like, oops, messed a couple of them up. But, man, let that kid express itself. I know you got to have boundaries, and I know you got to, but don't break their little spirits. Let them thrive. Let them be. Let them express. Let them do all that, because then they'll look at it. A cheerful heart is good medicine. It's good for them. It's healthy. I'm always amazed when I see people that have the patience to do that, because it's not easy. Had a bunch of them on the plane we were on last night, actually. It's annoying, for sure. It can be a little embarrassing sometimes for the parent. But man, if that kid can actually express itself and have the space to mess up a little bit and have the space to kind of figure stuff out, as long as you got those bigger boundaries around them, man, they're just always smiling and happy, and it's healthy. But if you just constantly break their little spirit, it dries up their bones. And guess what? They can't wait to get away from us. And who wants that? Cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 21:9. I threw this one in for Tiffany. Better to live on a corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. I'm just kidding, Tiffany. I actually threw that in for somebody. I don't know who. But I think you could take quarrelsome wife out of it, and you could put quarrelsome anybody in there, right? Better to live in the corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. You guys are being super quiet in here, but you know that's true, you know? That can be, when there's a fight, it's hard. And I've noticed I don't win a lot of them. And here's the other thing I've noticed. When I do win them, I don't win them. You know what I mean? When I win them. I'm like, I won. And it's like, oh, man, I still lost. It's not good, right? Proverbs 21:9. What else we got here? Why is the clicker not working? There it goes. Proverbs 22:24-25. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. Says Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. You know the interesting thing about that? building each other up according to their needs, that means you have to get to know them to understand what their needs are. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Relationships don't work that way. Build each other up. Don't tear each other down. Ephesians 4:31, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Titus 3:10, warn a divisive person once and then warn them a second time. After that, have nothing to do with them. Negativity is a killer. Negativity will keep you down, and negativity is not how we're meant to live, how we're meant to thrive, how we're meant to have joy, unspeakable and full of glory. It's not what Jesus came to instill in us. It just isn't. So let's see this. Paul's call to positivity in Philippians. If you remember, the Philippian church was started from the earthquake when he was in prison. Him and Silas were in the inner part of the prison. And in spite of their circumstances weren't good. They were in the inner jail, potentially going to be executed because they were Jewish, was the excuse that they had them put there, basically because of their faith in Christ. They're in the middle of this jail, and they are singing hymns at midnight. Their feet are in the stocks, horribly uncomfortable. And they're like, let's just sing hymns. And they're singing hymns. And you can imagine the other prisoners probably weren't thrilled with that at midnight. But then all of a sudden an earthquake happens. All their stuff falls off. All the shackles fall off. The doors open up. It's a very specific earthquake. And they get up. The jailer thinks he's going to die because all the prisoners have escaped. But the prisoners hadn't escaped. They were still there. And he says, what must I do to be saved? And he says, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. Thou shalt be saved in thy household. And he goes and baptizes them. And from that starts the Philippian church. Matter of fact, when he opens this book up, he says, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. And I bet that was just crazy to reminisce about. How this church started from joy, not negativity. They had every reason to be negative. The easy thing would have been to be negative and to just be sulking and be down. But they weren't. They rejoiced always. And so when he ends this book, he's bringing it in for a landing right here. He kind of gives them this call to positivity. He says, rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again. Rejoice. Now, we can't be happy all the time. It's not going to be a case where you're like, hey, totaled my car, woo, It's not, but it's, and you guys know the circumstances you've gone through where you can't be happy about it. But it's this joy that's inside of us, knowing that Jesus is there. He's setting all things right. He's making all things right. And he's there. And you'll see that in just a second. Because he says, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Your gentleness. How much of what we hear today about masculinity is about harshness? Think about it. Got to be tougher, got to be meaner, got to be tougher, got to say this, you got to cuss a little bit, you got to grow a beard, you got to get a flannel, you got to wear a trucker hat, you got to have sharp edges, you got to do all this stuff. When the Bible's saying, let your gentleness be evident to all. My question is, are we manly enough, are we masculine enough to be gentle? Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. And not this isn't a timing thing, like the Lord's almost here. No, the Lord's here. He's here. He's right here. He's not far away. He's right here, and no matter what you're going through, you can even be in a jail cell in the middle of nowhere with stocks on your feet. He's there. You can rejoice not because of your circumstances being good, but in spite of your circumstances being whatever your circumstances are. Rejoice in the Lord always. Say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident. The Lord is near. Do not, here's the second part. Do not be anxious about anything. Even a motorcycle driving by in the middle of church. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition. This is going off the fact that the Lord's right here. We don't have to be anxious. He's right here. By prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Not be anxious. Anxiety breeds fear, and fear breeds negativity. And ultimately, it says it brings about sin and death. Right? Man, it's easy to say, do not be anxious about anything. But here's the truth, we don't have to be anxious about anything. Isn't that amazing? Jesus is right here. He's right here. Matter of fact, he says, come boldly before the throne. I created all this. Come here. I'm here. Tell me about it. Do not be anxious about anything. So rejoice. Don't be anxious. Sounds good so far, doesn't it? These are possible in Jesus. You know how much negativity gets lifted if we realize we can do that? If we realize we can rejoice in whatever circumstances they are. If we realize I don't have to be anxious. All of a sudden some of that cloud lifts, doesn't it? Last thing, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Put your mind in a place where you just say, you know what? If it's bad, if it's ugly, if it's gruesome, I'm not dwelling there. You know what? If you can control something, if you can do something to alleviate something, do it. If you have a negative something in your life and you need to apologize, apologize. Do what you can do, control it. Don't dwell on what is negative. Don't dwell on what is ugly. Don't dwell on what is hard. Don't dwell in all of that. Rather, think on these things. Rejoice. Lay that anxiety at the feet of Jesus. Let that peace come in. And think on the things that are right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. And let's set the tone of positivity around the throne of Jesus in people's lives to help lighten their burden and to help lighten our burden and to help our families, our homes, our businesses, and our churches thrive. Dear Heavenly Father, God, I ask that you would just take these thoughts, maybe gel them up, maybe that person that needs this the most, Lord, I know I do. It is always easier to not be positive, not get rid of the negativity. But God, help us to do that. Help us to lighten each other's burdens and help us, God, to thrive in you and help others do the same. In Jesus' name.